Alright guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Combined Impact podcast. I am Shari and I am joined by Ila. And today we are going to be talking about a relatively serious topic. But before we get into all of that, we did want to come back to our previous episode and talk a little bit about that. Because it was a really fun episode.
Yeah, you could hear, or I hope that you could hear that we had a lot of fun recording that episode.
Yeah.
And a lot of people did mention that they enjoyed listening to it as well.
And I think the overall feedback was very positive in a sense that people are like, oh, cool, this is a thing we didn't think about or expect or...
Yeah, because a lot of people, of course, did know about the love languages, but they didn't give it so much, thought. Yeah. And a lot of people actually didn't know about the apology languages, which isn't surprising.
Yeah, no, that was really interesting because someone did come to me and was like, I didn't even know the apology language quiz existed, for example. And they had done the quiz and learned about that too. And it's like really cool to see people actually, taking that time to learn about their own languages.
And it's not even necessarily about knowing exactly what your results are and what somebody else's results are. Today, actually, we were talking to somebody about that, and they said it's not, again, exactly that. So it's not necessarily about knowing exactly what the results are, but just knowing that there are different languages and that maybe you and your partner just aren't speaking each other's language. And if you want or if you feel like it's necessary, then you know that it's a tool that you could use.
Yeah. That was really nice. And also as a reminder too, for yourself as well, not only towards other people, so that, listen to yourself and what you need, what your needs are. And also remember, we are ever-changing beings. Mm-hmm. So those languages will probably change too in time. Yeah. And that's also important to remember. So
it changes within a person and it's different. So you have a different language when it comes to romantic partners or friendships or parents or children, is also something that somebody else brought our attention to. And it's not even that it's the same for every romantic partner, but maybe for a different romantic partner, you have a different language, or for a different friend, you have a different language as well.
So it's all about learning about yourself and each other and listening to yourself and each other. So and also I'll normalize apologizing to children, guys. It's important. But let's get into the episode of today. And the reason we chose this topic specifically, we already have a list of a bunch of topics that we do want to talk about. We have content to create, but the reason we specifically chose it this time was because it was because something I tweeted. I tweeted something about elitism within Vivio mentality, and Vivio is the highest level of high school that we have in our education system on the island, and it kind of got a lot of people's interaction. I got a little bit of that, and it kind of inspired us to make this episode, basically.
Yeah, we basically couldn't not make the episode about this.
So
let's get right into it.
Let's get into it. Alright, guys. So first of all, before we begin, we did want to give out a disclaimer, specifically during this episode, because it is a very, sensitive topic, and also we are well aware that we can only speak from our experience and our placement within these systems that we have been in, and it is purely to remind y'all this is our experience, our opinions, and that does not necessarily mean we are trying to dismiss any other people's experiences. We're just trying to bring light to these certain things, and to also remind yourselves and to challenge yourselves to think about how this particular episode makes you react, makes you feel. If you feel defensive, why do you feel defensive? It's very important, because even for us, this is still very much a learning process. We are also still learning and all the different ways that we also perpetuate certain things like elitism or,
whatever else it might be.
Yeah, like it is also, we never stop learning, and we hope that other people also see it like that too.
And actually, I hope we never stop learning, because it's it's better to be better.
Yeah.
All right, so with all of that out of the way, I'm going to jump right into the definitions. And the one that I felt was the most clear description was the one from the English Oxford Dictionary. And that's that elitism is a belief or attitude that individuals who form an elite, so that's a select group of people with an intrinsic quality, high intellect, wealth, special skills, or experience, are more likely to be constructive to society as a whole and therefore deserve influence or authority greater than that of others. I feel like that's a good definition, but I like the nuance that philosophyterms.com brings, and that's that an elite is a relatively small group of people with the highest status in a society or in some domain of activity who have more privilege or power than other people due to their status. Elitism is believing in or promoting this sort of arrangement, whether that be in the academic world, politics, art, sports, or anywhere else. So basically, it's just the select group of people who most people would consider to be the best of the best.
Yeah, in whichever field, basically.
Yes, in whichever field. That's the nuance that I liked about that philosophy terms brought, that it's not only in the form of authority, but also in sports, in art, and basically any field that you could think of. Before we even started researching this, so when we decided we were going to do it about elitism, I already had an idea, of course, about what elitism was because of that tweet that you tweeted. And also because we've spoken about it before. When I got these definitions, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much what I thought it was. Was it the same for you?
Well, to be honest, I don't generally describe these things in those specific words because, to be honest, a lot of the times it's about my experiences, right? It's something I've experienced. We've all experienced different forms of what elitism kind of boils down to in our daily lives and stuff like that. So I never really had the right words for it. But hearing you describe it in that way, it's like, yeah, that's actually what it is. I just like this experienced it in life as opposed to knowing what it meant, right? So yeah, you could say this is a definition that I could very easily place within my experiences surrounding this topic.
Okay, that's nice because we do all have elitist experiences, elitist things that we've said, elitist things that people have said to us. And one thing I found that really brought this back to the current times that we're in is that the elite, according to the definition, are the people who deserve influence or authority greater than that of others. And that makes me think of the essential workers. And then a lot of people would consider like doctors to be elites, lawyers to be elites, people who uphold the law and order and stuff like that. But then doctors are also considered the essential workers. But then when you broaden that definition, essential workers are also people who work in the supermarket, the bus drivers, the people who clean the streets, all of those people. But they don't get considered to be an elite, even though they are the backbone of our society, even though they are essential workers. So that's the weird part about it.
Yeah, it is. And that, I guess, is where that's where that comes in, right? Because we are always led to believe that when you look at it, people who do like minimum wage jobs in that aspect don't really be considered like important to society or aren't considered necessary in that way. If we really want to look at it in times pre-corona. But now, especially in these times, I think it really did open a lot of people's eyes to the fact that, no, actually, we literally do need these people. Our society is literally built on the backbones of these people. We cannot thrive as a society. We cannot go on with our daily lives without these people. That is something that was made very clear with Corona, because all of the quote unquote useless jobs fall away, because it's like, it's not really essential, it's not really necessary in Corona times. We need, like, you know, the most essential people to be working day and night and helping us out.
And all of those jobs that we could miss are usually filled by people we consider to be elite.
Exactly. And then they're like, well, look how the tables have turned. So yeah, it does really make you think about why we categorize certain essential workers as, I don't want to say bottom of the barrel, but we do treat them like that.
Yeah, we're very comfortable treating them like that.
Yeah. But why?
Yeah, I think it all starts very young, because all of us, with your tweet, it was already evident that it happened at school, but it also happens in our own homes. It also happens just around. But I think the vast majority of it does indeed, like you said on Twitter, happen at school.
What I did not expect is a lot of people resonated with it, in the sense that how normalized it was, that if you were not in that level, you were treated as less, you were treated as not as important, or just the way you were interacted with. And it was so normalized, right? It was so normalized to be seen as less than.
Yeah.
And that was, to me, very surprising, because I thought, oh shit, I thought I was the only one that felt like this, which is something why I never really, we don't really talk about it, because it is so normalized.
Yeah. And it's actually, in fact, so normalized that I knew about it, of course. You knew it happened, but that's where my role came in, to check myself, because I was on the other side of that coin. I was in the class that people would usually praise.
Yeah.
And I knew that some of my friends did tell me that teachers were treating them differently. And some people were telling me that teachers were directly comparing their class to our class. But I guess as a person who didn't experience it firsthand, I could afford to not really engage with it, not really worry about it, and be aware that it does happen, but not really, I guess, invest. Yeah, exactly. Invest my energy. And it really made me feel like the white person in the room, in the sense of like, what are you talking about? Racism doesn't happen, right? So yeah, when I saw all of those tweets, and when I saw all of those people engaging and reacting and giving their stories, I was like, yikes, okay, so this is my turn to like shut the fuck up
and listen.
And listen and check myself and be like, okay, how did you contribute? How can you change and be better in this respect? So thanks for that. Very uncomfortable, I gotta say. I mean, it did help me learn, so good for me.
But like, let's bring it back to high school, right?
Yes. Oh yes. Explain to us, how does high school work?
Okay, so high school on the island, and to an extension on the other islands as well, but we're of course gonna speak specifically about Aruba. Education on the islands is very. We have a Dutch Eurocentric education system, because of course we were colonized by the Netherlands, and we took over their education system, or it was.
Imposed on us.
Imposed on us. I worded that incorrectly. Which just basically means we have the same system that they have here in the Netherlands. It's basically high school is split up into different levels, and it is on different sides of the spectrum. Intelligence, you would say, you have the. Let's say level 1 is more on the physical, more on the practical, hands-on side. Then you have a little bit in the middle,
which is just the average.
Average. Most people did that, which was theoretical, technically, but also just more. It was a little bit of both, but yeah. So basically, and then you had the quote-unquote highest level, which is what both of us did. But in different levels. But that's basically high school was split into those 3 different levels.
And that's when you're 12 years old.
Yeah.
When you're 12, they're going to say, you're smart enough to go to this school, you're not smart enough, you have to go to this school, which is really fucked up.
Yeah, it really is. If you really look at the system critically, it doesn't work. But
how are you going to know if a 12-year-old is smart or not?
And also because the system is really built to only support one type of intelligence.
Yeah, book smartness.
Book smartness, yes. And we have so many different types of intelligences that just gets neglected. And because we try to put everyone under one umbrella of what is intelligence, which is impossible.
And it's book smartness measured by one version of testing only.
Yeah, basically. So it's like, the whole, that saying, measuring a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's fucking impossible.
Yeah.
And so, but that is what our system is. And let's say you end up in the system that we ended up, or the level that we ended up in, which was the quote unquote highest level that you could reach in high school.
And I guess for a bit more clarification, the levels HAVO and VWO are Hoger Algemeen Voortgezet Onderwijs, which literally translates to, so HAVO is Higher General Continued Education, and then you have VWO, which is Voorbereidend Wetenschappelijk Onderwijs, and that is Preparatory Scientific Education. And then there's the whole also, depending on what subjects you choose, you're even more praised or not so much, but that's like, that's very far into the discussion.
But basically, that's the thing. So let me sketch it for you guys, since we did go to a very particular school that did this. And it's a very unique perspective, right? Because on Aruba, we only had one high school that on that level, and that is our experience. That's what we can derive from. And so basically, as soon as you enter first and the second grade is when it's determined whether you go to HAVO or VWO. So which group you belong in. So you have to imagine, as soon as you walk in the doors, you're already being
assessed by the teachers.
Yeah. But the problem with this is what a lot of people don't understand, is you already, if you are not VWO material, you're already set up to fail. Because it is a system that is catered around that VWO mentality, that VWO niveau. And if you do not measure up to that, you're just going to go to HAVO, which is just, that's where you end up, whatever.
Yeah, it's not literally important. Where you end up, not where you go to, but because you didn't make it, then you end up there.
Exactly. So imagine you walk in and you're like, oh yeah, you're not good enough for VWO. So this is the alternative. There's literally only one alternative, that's going HAVO.
And they remind you of that every single day.
Exactly. And that's the type of environment they create, right? And I think that's something a lot of people don't want to see or want to understand.
Yeah.
I remember my experience was, as soon as I got to the first grade, I was kind of groomed to go to VWO. And I had the grades. I was, I was set up to go to VWO. And then, I don't know, fucking puberty happened or something. And when I was in the second grade, all my grades went to shit. And I went to HAVO. But I still remember the difference in the way I was treated in the first grade as opposed to the second grade. Because when I was groomed to go to VWO, I was really treated like crème de la crème, like elite, like, oh my God, you're so smart. Oh my God, you're amazing. You're going to make it so far in life. And then when I went to HAVO and I fell off, basically, it was just pure disappointment. It was pure, I guess you're not cut out to be the crème de la crème. You're not cut out to be in the top.
Yeah, you can't sit with us.
Yeah, basically that. And it really made me realize how problematic that is, because you were literally cast aside if you didn't measure up. I know sometimes, some people even tweeted stuff like, oh yeah, but we all did go to the same school and we all got the same teachers. But honestly, you have to understand, just because we went to the same school, we got the same teachers, it did not make our experience equal.
Mm-hmm. Because some of the teachers were just treating people differently, but some of the teachers were literally saying that they prefer the VWO classes, or some of the teachers even only gave class to the VWO classes
that's what
and
they
not the
want.
HAVO. Yeah, exactly, because they were discriminating.
Yeah.
So that's not cool. And this is like describing if you end up there or not. But one of the people who engaged with your tweets even said that they did make it to VWO, but then they ended up going to HAVO still after a while. And that her family was like, oh yeah, might as well work at McDonald's then. When you're still in the higher level of high school.
Yeah. And that's even another form of elitism, in the sense that as soon as you don't measure up to that form of intelligence, you are worthless. And
that's compared to working at McDonald's. Like,
which is again exactly. But that's the elitist mindset of seeing you are better than me because I work at McDonald's versus you that works at a law firm.
Else?
Yeah. But exactly. But that's literally the mentality that is drilled into us as soon as we get to high school. And it's a constant competition, right? And at some point, you as a HAVO student, you as the lower of the two levels, you constantly hear you're not good enough. You constantly hear, oh, why aren't you guys as well behaved? My VWO students didn't take so long to teach or to learn about this material. It's like, okay, well, then I don't want to learn about it either then, miss.
Yeah, because you have some of those people that are motivated by being underestimated, which is like maybe in the single digits percentages. But then most of the people, if you continuously keep comparing them, keep telling them that they're not good enough, then at a certain point they're going to be like, well, no matter what I do, it's not going to be good enough anyway, and you already expect me to fail, so what the fuck do I do?
Yeah, it's just that self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, they're like, oh, see, I told you. But yeah, you literally did tell me every single day, and that's exactly why I'm not motivated
over and over. But still, that's basically, and the reason we mention all of these things is to illustrate how elitism is seeped into our society, in the sense of like that voorbeeld, that example of high school. It's like our society is built like that, right? We are constantly told to compete against each other. We're constantly told to, you are better than them if you do this. You are better than them if you accomplish these things. But the problem is, when you really look at it, it doesn't make you better at all, because it just makes you technically fortunate. Because in the sense that a lot of kids who got to these higher levels of education got there probably because they could, in the sense that they had the privilege and the means to get there. Because something a lot of people really forget is that classism also plays a role in education. Like, there are enough smart kids probably who didn't even get to make it that far because of the circumstances of life, where they live, which family they were born in.
If you don't have a stable home environment, then it makes it difficult to find time to dedicate as much time on your education than the kids with the more stable home environments did.
Yeah.
And it's not only in schools. Some people do get raised in very elitist families, and that they are told, you better get to this level, you better go to this school, you better get a master's degree, you better get a good job, you better get a good husband, you better get at least like one car each, you better get a big house, stuff like that. Keep promoting, keep getting just more and more and more stuff each time. And some people even go as far as to say, don't date outside of your circle, meaning don't date outside of your level, which is also elitist in itself, because it doesn't.
Classist.
Yeah, hell yeah, especially classist. It's not even that the idea is only instilled at school, but it's also at home.
But yeah, so like, it was interesting to me too. I remember we had one conversation about you remember college fair, and we were talking about that.
Yeah, that was a funny one, because in my family it was kind of, I wouldn't say the opposite, but definitely different, in that we were just expected to go to the highest level. We were expected to do well in school. We were expected to do all of that. And then at the end of the day, we were expected to go to the Netherlands to pursue further education. It wasn't even, would you like to go to the Netherlands, or what other options do you have? No, it was just when you're 18, when you graduate high school, you're going to go to the Netherlands. And part of that was like figuring out which university we wanted to go to. And then we do have a dean at school that the year before your last year, or maybe it was the last year itself, you go to the dean, they like reserve a few classes for you. And then they just sort of explain, in the Netherlands, you have these schools and they offer these subjects, these studies, and you get to go or not, but for the most up-to-date information, there's also a college fair, and you can go if you want to. And then for us, it was just like, okay, there's a college fair. We gathered up a group of friends, and we decided the day, and we all went. And to me, it was, I thought that everybody went. And when we were talking about that, you were like, wait, you went to college fair?
With your friends in a group? You actually proactively planned this shit and went together?
Yeah.
What?
I was like, wait, you didn't?
No. Like, nobody in my family ever went further with, like, into college. Or even got, to go there. So I was like one of the first ones. Like, I had two cousins that went to college. One of them didn't finish, but so like we were like literally the only ones in the family. So it was for them like, I mean, do you want to go to? I mean, I guess if you want, sure.
It was an option.
So it was. I mean, if you want, but it wasn't like you had to, because, like I said, it was just not a thing in our family, and so it was all like up to me to decide if I wanted to or not. But to hear, because and that was the same sentiment in my surroundings as well, in my group of friends, and the friends I had, the people I hung out with around at that time, none of them were thinking about college. Like, that's not something we had the luxury to think about. So it was so weird to me to think, like, holy shit, like, y'all actually did all of that? Like, who does that? Like, you guys apparently.
Yeah,
but like, when you are literally like raised in that way that it is automatic that you're gonna go to college.
Yes.
So it was so funny to me that to see that great contrast and the way we were raised and the way you as a VWO person was like expected to do all these things.
And literally groomed for it.
Yeah.
And that also was a learning moment for me, that before that moment, I didn't know that people didn't go to college fair. I just assumed that everybody did. And then that really made me think, like, wow, I am really that person that was groomed, and I didn't even realize it, and I didn't even realize that there were other people who weren't groomed. So that's what I do agree with, or of course I agree with everything you said, but I mean at the beginning that it is a learning moment for all of us, and especially with the whole tweet thing, that I was profoundly uncomfortable when that stuff got mentioned, because you do get called out, and initially I thought like, but I'm not one of them. But at the same time, I kind of was one of them. Like, it's not that I was going around and saying, hey, I'm better than you, but I didn't stop anybody from saying that, or I didn't call out anybody for their uncool behavior, elitist behavior, or if they expect somebody who works at McDonald's to do something because they're not elite. That's definitely something that they would do.
It's a very specific mindset, right? It's this very specific prejudices that are held over our heads. Like, for example, I talked to a friend of mine recently, and he mentioned that he was a VWO kid, but he was like a little bit of a rebel, and like their class wasn't that innocent. And they would like, you know how teenagers are. Like, we cannot pretend teenagers are always that like angels. But so they would like wreak havoc, and then Havo kids would always get blamed for their shit, because nobody would believe VWO kids would do those things. And it's all about that, right? It's about the prejudices that hang over a certain group's head, and you expect them to be the bad guys. Like, it's the same thing when we look at racism. Like, you expect the black people to be the thugs, to be the bad guys,
the people who, for example, looted a place when in fact most of the people who were looting were white.
Yeah, exactly.
So those are also the parallels that we need to draw. That it's not as I guess fatal in the education system, but it does affect our livelihood in the future.
It contributes to the way we treat each other in society. It really does contribute to that, which is why I think we really do need to focus on elitism as a problem as well in that sense. But yeah, so it's just very interesting to me to really unpack all of that in that way and to realize where do these prejudices come from. And like in my sense, I was lucky enough that I'm very humbled by the people I had around me, because not everyone that was around me were VWO people. A lot of them went to all different levels, even the ones that we consider not important. And that kind of humbled me in the sense that they were just as smart as me. They were just as capable as me. They just didn't have the means, or they weren't book smart in that way. And that really made me realize how fucked up our system is in that sense, that it only caters to a very small percentage of the population, and the rest that just isn't deemed worthy because they're, for example, not book smart, or two, do not have the privileges if they come from a poor family, if they come from a family that cannot afford to think about the best education for their kids because they're too busy
just surviving.
Like as a
making
teacher,
ends meet.
Like as a teacher too, I had taught at schools in which I had kids who were super smart, and not only in like book smart ways, in just general life ways, super amazingly talented kids, but they were being held back by the fact that they had to stay home to take care of their siblings,
or sometimes even work alongside their parents to just be able to afford everything.
So how do you expect a child like that to be able to focus on school, work hard enough, if they're busy helping their parents out or busy taking care of their siblings, you know?
And then at the other end of the spectrum, you have the kids who maybe are just as let's say intelligent as those kids, but then they do have all of that extra time, and their parents do have the financial means to like maybe pay for a private tutor and maybe pay for all of that extra stuff that their kid would need to reach those quote unquote highest levels. So it's not only to do with their intelligence, but it definitely has to do with how much money you have, how much time you have, how much you can invest. And that's not fair. And that keeps getting perpetuated as well. If those same people who have a lot of money, who can afford for their kids to go to that highest level and then end up in one of those elite positions, to then also invest that same money for their kids. And some people even go as far as to just buy their kids' entry into a university, even though their kid maybe isn't that smart or maybe isn't that motivated.
They have that elitist position to be able to do that.
Exactly.
And that's the thing too. Like, you have these different, like, again, there are different like levels to this. For example, you can have a poor kid that goes to VWO too, but because they are so well fit to the system of education, that's why they thrive as well. But that's the thing, there are so many factors that go into why we end up where we end up and what school system we end up in. And it should not have to be measuring to who is better or who should be treated better.
Yeah, because some people are just lucky.
Yeah, literally that. And it's also, I guess that's somehow somehow down that road of studying, teaching is where we end up with those thoughts of, oh, I am better than the street cleaner because I have this education, or I am better than this kid that goes to EPB, which is the lower, or the EPB, which is the
hands-on level,
hands-on, the more practical side. I'm better than them because I get, and this contributes to why we see certain essential workers are less than others, when in fact they are not. But
what I find funny is that the creme de la creme, as you mentioned it, we think we're all that. We think, oh, I'm in VWO, I have like physics, biology, chemistry, all of that stuff. I get to go to university. I get to study medicine or biomedical sciences. So I did literally all of that. But then when I reached the Netherlands, boy, was I unpleasantly surprised by the even further levels of elitism that exists here, because even though we did all do the exact same test as the Dutch people, we all got graded in the exact same system in the exact same way. I passed everything. I got into university. And then they were like, oh, I don't know. Your Dutch sounds a bit weird. So I'm going to assume that you're dumb. And then people treated me that way.
Yeah, they
my entire
literally
bachelor.
do.
And I was like, yo, we're all doing the same classes.
Yeah.
We're all passing the same classes. When you do group projects, y'all ain't do shit.
Yeah.
I do most of the work. But then still, when we get put together in more group projects, and they're like, I don't know, Nagita, do you want to maybe do the editing at the end? I'm like, actually, no, I want to contribute because you guys kind of suck. I can tell that none of you kind of understand what the lab work was about. And I was actually there. I was actually standing in the lab for 8 hours. So no, I want to contribute to the project.
Yeah, but that's that other form of elitism that transcends like not only class, but also race.
Yeah.
Because they see you as less than because you are not Dutch in their eyes or Dutch enough in their eyes.
Yes.
That's basically it. And that automatically makes you less than them.
Yeah.
But why though? Like, what makes me less than you? Because what? Because I can't, like, I speak 4 languages, and so that means one of them isn't that, you know,
one of them doesn't sound exactly like yours. And then on top of all of that, I think what a lot of people forget is that we are doing the same things, taking the same classes, making the same tests. And we're doing all of that while also being very far away from basically everybody we know, everything we're used to.
Yeah, our culture.
Our culture, where we lived, just the way that we are used to being in our comfort zone. We're very far removed from that, placed in a strange land with strange people. Well, I guess I can't call them strange, but just different people. Yeah. And then even so, we achieve all of the things that we do. And even so, people still don't consider us good enough because we don't have that like elite factor going on for us.
Of what they consider to be elite, the top. And that's it's just frustrating to deal with because it's like, I don't know how else to prove. I don't need to prove myself to you. That's the whole thing.
Literally, you don't need to prove yourself. But if you do want to be taken seriously, or if you do want to be considered to be like a equally contributing member of the team, then I mean, there must be something you can do, right? And as a person who's used to achieving, as a person who's used to like everybody else praising because you did everything right, then you're like, how the fuck? Like, I'm doing everything that I can.
Yeah.
And I'm doing everything that people are telling me to do, but somehow it's just never good enough. And then when, like, despite all of that, some people actually do make it. People like graduate. I did my master. I graduated that. And then at the end of it, I'm like, fuck, yes, in your face. I did all of this. Now let me go get a job. And then, surprise, next level. So it just never stops. It just never stops.
And that's like a lot of the things we do not acknowledge or want to acknowledge when it comes to how we perpetuate our own forms of elitism within our own. Not only like that gets perpetuated on us by Dutch people, but also what we do to each other as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about now. Actually.
Because like I can remember very clearly when I moved here, it was all very fucking scary to me because I was never prepared for these things. It's not something that we were used to back like in my family. So I had to discover everything by myself. It was all new, and then on top of that, I was basically forced in a way. Or it was asked of me in very subtle ways. It wasn't ever directly. It wasn't that they told me, hey, you have to be this certain way. But you could feel it, right? You knew that you couldn't be too Aruban. You knew you couldn't be too you.
You
If
couldn't
you
dress too colorful.
No.
You couldn't be too loud.
You couldn't be too
be
present.
too excited.
Because, and I even and to go as far as like, I didn't know only feel that within my the Dutch groups that I was at school, but I also felt that in those friends that I had in my city too, who were from that sort of like video type of mentality. And that did have an effect on me, if I wanted to admit that back then or not. Even if they didn't directly speak on certain things, I knew, okay, I couldn't be a certain way because they didn't fuck with that. I couldn't be or say certain things because they would question me, or they would like, why are you,
And that's exactly why I mentioned what I did before. I said before, because people do experience being discriminated against in an elitist way.
Yeah.
And even though they experience it, they acknowledge it, they can recognize it, they literally turn around and treat their own people the exact same way.
Yeah.
Just because they're slightly different, or just because they aren't conforming as much as you are, for example, to what the people here, which is the Netherlands, expect from you.
But because it's literally asked of you to not be who you are, just so that you can fit in these elitist circles.
And then even so, it's not enough.
No, but that's the thing. When you see that these people that from art like groups, for example, who do manage to enter these elitist systems, you see the way they have to do it is by also having to remove a lot of themselves too. Like, they can't be like, they drop a lot of their heritage, they drop their culture, they drop their language, just so they can fit in those systems. And that begs the question, why do we do that? Why isn't your culture, why isn't your heritage enough to be able to embrace that and still be part of those circles?
Yeah, because apparently we are capable of succeeding.
Yeah.
Because our foundation is our culture, and even with that, we are capable of succeeding. So I really wonder how come some people are so willing to like trade in their culture, their heritage, their friends, their people, basically just to maybe fit in slightly better into the system.
And that's because the system, again, and that elitist system is also very racist.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Because when you see like what we consider, and I say we because we all perpetuate this in one form or the other, the people that are most respected, the people that we listen to the most, the people that we will trust their word over others the most, who are they?
The people who made sure that they would be at the top, which is like the white, heterosexual, cis man.
Yeah. And the furthest you are from that, the least serious you are taken.
Or the least chances you're given.
Yeah.
Because there's, of course, conforming, there's doing the best you can do. There are people who are born here, so they don't have the accent. But they're just, I mean, you're still a black woman. What do you want me to do about it? Oh, you're a lesbian too? Yikes, man. Sorry.
You're like checking all the boxes now. I'm sorry, man. You're just, no. But that's basically it. It's, again, that's why I think a lot of the times elitism goes hand in hand with white supremacy and classism, etc. Because it's about who we deem to be the most worthy and who do we trust the most.
And they are like, this is a terrible pandemic that's going on. And unfortunately, a lot of people have been affected by it, but a lot more people have remained healthy. A lot more people have been staying inside, but they still need to go to the supermarket. They still need to live their normal lives. So most of us are dealing with the, I'm using air quotes now, non-elite essential workers, but still everybody is screaming at the top of their lungs for the doctors and the nurses, and it's a slap in the face for the healthcare professionals, but nobody is as passionate about the actual essential workers that most of us are coming in contact with.
Yeah, exactly. And that's again where it sits. It's like, yes, we need doctors. Yes, we need all these very important, like, yes, it's important. We need scientists. We need all these people, who reach these higher levels of education. Of course we do. But we also need the cleaners. We also need grocery workers. We also need all these other people who we don't deem important enough. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's to get to where we need to get as a society, to have equality, to have everyone be on the same level. We have to start letting go of those prejudices that we have as well.
And just treat everybody with the same respect.
Yeah.
That's literally all that we're asking, or all that we're advocating for, is not saying somebody is more important than the other, because everybody has their role.
Yeah.
Not saying that one person is better than the other, because how can you even measure how good someone is?
You can't.
Good
There
at
isn't.
what? Like, somebody is good at building houses. Are you going to ask a doctor to build your house for you? Of course not.
We need to also realize those type of elitist thoughts also perpetuate and continue to aid racism and classism, sexism. All of these things go hand in hand, and to eradicate one, we need to eradicate all of these, and especially look within ourselves to remind ourselves we have a lot of things we perpetuate ourselves as well, and so we need to work on that.
What we have to do is exactly what you said. We need to work on it, but we have to especially realize when we feel uncomfortable when a group of people is being called out, then ask ourselves why we're feeling uncomfortable. Is it because I have been one of those people who perpetuates this, or have I been one of the people who remained silent when other people were perpetuating some of this? What can I do to make the situation better? Should I speak on it, or am I taking away the platform from somebody else who is, I guess, better able to speak on it? Or should I support them? Should I amplify their voices? What else can I do? Can I call out people when they're being ignorant? Can I don't know, like put out messages or reminding people each time, like, just treat everybody with the exact same respect.
But I think that was like a lot for today.
We were obviously very passionate about this, but it is very important.
Hopefully y'all also start, holding yourselves accountable. You just have to really, really sit with our discomfort.
And help your friends. If, for example, you and your friend are in the same position, then, hold each other accountable. Accountability partner. Highly recommend that as well. And just like, it's a team effort. And if everybody is in it together, then it doesn't feel like you're the only one pulling the cart.
It's very important.
Okay, I know that was a lot, but we need you to focus for just a little bit longer. Today, instead of focusing on entertainment in the section, we wanted to actually focus more on shifting the focus towards supporting our people. And I mean all of our people. Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, St. Martin, Saba, Statia. And we all know that we've been affected by this corona crisis in a different way, because we do rely heavily on tourism. But with the borders closed, there is no tourism. There is no income.
And that, of course, immediately affects a lot of people directly. And we've been seeing like a lot of organizations really advocating for help to donate to families who have been severely affected by this corona pandemic. So that's why we also want to encourage our listeners to do what you can in the form of donating.
And with the help of Alfreda and the girls from the Say Less Sis podcast, so shout out to them, we managed to compile a list of places that you could donate to. And if you don't have the means to donate monetarily to these places, then another thing that we could do that we realize we also need to be working on more is to follow people from the other islands, because because we're from Aruba, I guess historically we've always been very like ABC focused, and then the other islands. That's literally kind of how we describe it. But why the fuck not, right? So I would say join us in actively seeking out and following content from the other islands or from all 6 islands. And I think that way we can definitely strengthen our unity.
Yeah, I think it's so important, especially in these times. I think with everything that's happening with Corona, with Black Lives Matter movement, and just anti-racism and anti-colonialism movement that's happening around the world right now, I think it's so important for us to remember that we have a unity that we can work on. We are so much stronger together, and we can get so far working together. We've seen this in action so many times that it is so beautiful to witness, and I really do hope we put more effort and energy in that, and not only the ABC Islands, but also the SSS Islands as well. Because we have so much to give, and
we're so cool.
Yeah. So yeah, help us in donating and promoting and just sharing with each other.
Definitely share, because that's the only way that we could actually see it on our timeline.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And we'll do our best to uplift and promote more content as we find them. So
yeah.
So join us in this call of action, and we hope that we hear from you guys in this aspect. And thank you so much for bearing with us till this, because this is a long episode, guys. I know,
and a heavy episode.
But it's important. These things are important to acknowledge, and it's important to hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah.
So thank you, and hopefully till next episode.
Bye.